Good morning everyone, it's Pierre speaking. It's the 12th of April 2013, time about 8 o'clock GMT time. Last week we had huge movements in the market, and as expected, things were a little bit slower this week. Usually when we have big movements, next week the boys will have a relook at the news and price will settle down. However, you are hanging out with us at Forex Mentor Pro, and by now you will know that we can show you at least 100 pips in a week on the pairs that we trade. So let's start off with the Euro Index 4-hour chart. Previous week we said, or on Tuesday I said we need to flip the previous week from the low to the high. Then on Tuesday this was the high there. So Tuesday when I made my video clip, that was the potential trading zone, 106.66 coming down to 105.92. However, you will always see in my Tuesday write-up I say if we don't get the pullbacks and we make new highs or new lows, honor it and follow it with your FIP. And what do I mean by that? Well, here's a nice example. Price made new highs without a pullback, so we need to honor it, move our FIP to get a new potential trading zone that moves up to 106.79, going down to 105.99. Price this week touched this level here, 108 psychological level, weekly pivot point, broke to the other side, but we have big MACD divergence. So yes, the trend is up, and we broke this level for possible M2 trade, but the MACD is telling us a different story, that we need to be careful. And look at this. This is starting to be a big bearish candle. I took a short this week on the Euro US dollar, and I used the US dollar index, but I'll show you how I got in there. Let's move to the Euro US dollar. Beginning of the week we said we need to flip from the bottom to the top, where we had the high on Tuesday. Here is another example. We didn't get the pullback, so we had to honor it, follow it with our FIP for our potential trading zone to move to 2939, going down to 2840. What happened in the week, guys, is that price touched this level here. It was a psychological level of 3100. It was a weekly pivot point. So what happened for the week, guys? Price came up, we touched the psychological level of 3100. That was also a weekly pivot point. And I got in this level here for a short. Price touched that level, we had candle formation, and there were about 60 pips to be made. That was a counter trade, guys. And how did I get in there? When we hit this level here, where we had the psychological level plus a weekly pivot point, on the dollar index we were at the mother-in-law, okay? And by now you know the mother-in-law 200 is usually a strong EMA. I even posted a note in the forum telling you guys, watch out, we can find support here, we can jump up, and that's exactly what price did. So this gave me extra confirmation to take the short in this area here, but it was a counter trade. I also, and Mark also mentioned it on his video on Wednesday, that I posted warnings that if this 200 EMA breaks at 82.51, very important, that we can drop to 82.04. And what happened? Price did it. We had a pullback where I took that counter trade, then a drop again. We broke to 200 EMA. Where's price? We stopped at 82.04. Why that level? Because that little line there is the daily 55 EMA. So can you see how I used the US dollar index to take that counter trade on the Euro US dollar? A little bit of advanced entry for the guys that's new to Forex, but with time it will come. Then a couple, if you look at the 1 hours, all the JPY pairs had huge movements last week. So on Tuesday, that was the level to be broken for possible M2 trades. The pressure is for it to go higher. The trend is high, the momentum is high, and it pushes price higher. That was a psychological level of 150. Price on Monday touched that level, and that was the level that had to be broken. Later on the week, on Wednesday, we broke that level to the upside. We pulled back to it. We also had the 54 EMA there, psychological level, and that was an M2 trade, bagging 100 pips there. If we look at the euro pound, this pair is a little bit haywire over the week. I think Mark has mentioned he burned his fingers with this pair. Why? Because it didn't honor the 200 EMA. That was a possible short setting up at 8,550 because the mother-in-law was there. If we look to the left of the chart, previous support resistance, but we broke it. And then usually we will break down, touch the level for M2 trade. We broke the 200 EMA again. We whipsawed the whole week through this 200 EMA. Now it's looking better because we're clearing the weekly pivot point. We're clearing the daily 55. However, stochastic is in an oversold area, so we might as well just jump up from here again. So be careful with this pair. It's whipsawing through those EMAs. Then if we look at the pound US dollar, I said to you that we have to flip from the bottom to the top to get a potential trading zone 5195 going down to 5112. However, I said keep your eyes on the 38.2 FIP at 5235 because if we look to the left of the chart, we had previous support resistance there. We also had a weekly pivot point there. We had the EMAs crawling up. And if you jump down to a 1 hour, then that was a nice trend line break. See how close we got to the 38.2 FIP, but we touched the 5247 weekly pivot point. Look at that. We touched it. Price turned around. If you were a little bit scared just to jump in, that was confirmation. Trend line break there. Look how price came. We broke the trend line. Bob was your uncle for a long, going with the main trend. Then if we look at the pound JPY, remember all those JPY pairs had huge movement. On Monday, that was the bottom in this area here, and it made a high at 152. Price came down. We touched this level again, so we can see we found support. So the pressure is up, the momentum is up. M2 trade, that level here had to be broken, 152. Price did it. On Tuesday, we pulled back, and that was more clearly there. There, 200 pips to be made with an M2 trade. Then if we look at the Aussie US dollar 1 hour, we are in a triangle. I said to you guys, we're in a triangle. We need to wait. I said if we break to the downside, be careful because we had all those EMAs on the 4 hour. What did price do? We were in the triangle, and then on Tuesday we broke to the upside. And look at this. Price touched that line. We came down. We broke the trend line. We were closing on the other side of 451, which is also a weekly pivot point. Remember the 200 EMA on the 60 minute is the 55 on the 4 hour. We broke that levels. We closed on all those on the other side of those levels. Bob was your uncle, and let's quickly have a look here. From entry to the highest point, 128 pips. Another M2 trade, Aussie JPY, 1 hour. This was the level 104.10 because that was a weekly pivot point. It was Monday's high area, or very close to Monday's highest area. We broke it on Tuesday. Price pulled back again. Bob was your uncle, 110 pips I think it was on this one that you could have made with a M1 trade. But as I said earlier, more clearly on the 1 hour, US dollar CHF, this pair is just dropping. If we look at the Earth and Sky trading system, we had to flip from the high. I think that was about Tuesday's low for possible pullback, and we said 9390 was the area. We had a hell of a lot of EMAs there. Price didn't pull back, no entry. But look here guys, remember Euro US dollar, it's got MACD divergence. This pair is negative correlated, so we've got MACD divergence going the other direction. Price is trending down, MACD trending up. If we look at the US dollar JPY, also M2 trade setting up, not as big as the other JPY pairs. And remember the US dollar JPY with the smallest day-day range if we look at the JPY pairs. M2 trade, but not a hell of a lot of pips be made there. US dollar CAT, big trade this. Mark showed you on Wednesday how he was busy with a member private lesson where they had a look at the CAT and they found multiple reasons to short it. Tuesday I wasn't sure because I think we were at these candles here. I said to you we need to break all these EMAs before a possible short. And that Mark and them had a look, found my pivot point at 169, saw the 200 EMA, previous support resistance. Price for a very long time went nowhere slowly and then a big drop. Where did price stop? You guessed it guys. Weekly pivot point 10103, also psychological level. That was your roadmap. If we look to the left, that was also last week's low. So that is definitely the profit take area. Stochastic is in the oversold area, so we can expect pullback. Last but not least, the US dollar index. I showed you how I used this to get a short on the Euro US dollar. We had the bounce from the 200 EMA, had candle formation at the 54 EMA, and look at this. We broke the 200 EMA. We can say we can have a possible M2 trade setting up here. I will not touch it, guys. It's Friday, and for me, the euro is too high. I'm expecting big drop, and it's busy happening on the euro index already. Look at this big candle coming down. I'm expecting at least a fall down to 107.29 on the euro index. So be careful today. Have an awesome weekend, and I'll speak to you later. Cheers.